everybody. Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 290. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him... I see you shaking your head through that one. I don't know if you forgot we had that one or not.
No, it's just, I'm an adult, man, and you're just fucking just doing this shit to me, man, with the AI. What's up today that making a 5-second AI generated video is like running a microwave for an hour. So I hope you're happy. Hope you're happy with yourself, dude.
Well, I told you on the last episode, I don't use AI except for North End content. So
True.
There you go. There's your fill for today, at least till we get to our latter segments. Sitting here on a Wednesday. Now sunny, beautiful Austin, Texas. Big storm last night woke me up. I don't know about you and the dogs over there, but how you feeling today, my friend?
Feeling good, man. We got the first complaining session of the 2026 season out of the way. We got to listen to me and you whine for an hour. So that's out of the way. I feel reinvigorated, rejuvenated. So I hope everyone who tuned in was able to commiserate with us a little bit, and we got to dust it off and we ride again come Saturday. So I'm ready to go, man. This shit doesn't stop. Yeah,
man. It's always, you got to get it out, those therapy sessions after these frustrating matches. And like you said on Sunday, man, we don't want to sit there for an hour and just talk about the officiating, but when that's what goes on, what are we supposed to do? So I am very much looking forward to moving past that match against Charlotte, looking ahead to Real Salt Lake today. And of course, we've got a recap and a preview for the second team as well, Boy Factory and the nonsense. So before we get into the rest of episode 290, just want to remind you all, as we always do, you can support the show financially for free just by downloading the audio versions of our episodes. Wherever you get your podcasts, you toggle on auto downloads. That'll support us in that fashion going forward, and you won't have to think about it again. Rate and review the show if you want to go the extra mile, and if you are watching on the YouTube channel, hitting that subscribe button does help us grow the show. You can also hit the bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, here on episode 290, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. So another watch party. We talked about it a little bit on Sunday, but just want to start off by reminding everybody, with that 8:30 p.m. kickoff, there will be a Los Verdes watch party at the Brutorium Brewery and Kitchen, again, 6015 Dillard Circle here in Austin. 7:30 party start, 8:30 kickoff for this game. All ages welcome at the Brutorium. They've got on-site parking. As you noted, very good that they have a food kitchen on site. You can find their menu on their website, or I imagine on their Instagram. And again, this is the kind of the cool thing that's going on in addition to the game, is that the South Ender Pale Ale can release, which is a collab between the Brutorium and Los Verdes. That's going to be going on here. They will have some koozies that are South Ender branded there. And dude, this is what is going to get me. The green chili queso and chips special during this watch party. So all good things here in store, at least till that first whistle blows. So you go out to the Brutorium with our friends over there at Los Verdes if you need a place to watch the game with some other like-minded sickos here. And again, just like for the Brutorium or any other breweries out there, we've got the South Ender here now. That's great. North Ender, whenever you want to, get at us. We'll talk about it.
Look, man, first and foremost, Los Verdes doing it proper as per usual. And yeah, dude, what would the flavor of the North Ender be? Is it just Miller Lite? It's just Miller Lite, but just branded differently.
I don't know if you can make double birds into a flavor, but maybe we'll talk about it. We'll have those brainstorm.
Get to the food kitchen. We'll get our food list. Get it situated.
All right, E. So look, we talk about moving on from the debacle on Saturday night, but Just a couple things to wrap that up here, because we did get the disciplinary committee report on Tuesday morning. And no, as you said, and as we all kind of expected, no rescension. Is that a word? Guilherme Biro's red card was not rescinded. And as we said, look, man, I got no problem with this because we said it while it was going on live on our screen. Guilherme Biro was fined for not leaving the field in a timely and orderly manner. And yeah, dude, that was textbook.
No, yeah, we were definitely like, all right, someone get him out of here, please, before this gets way fucking worse, man.
Yeah.
I'm not, I mean, obviously hurting for Guilherme's checkbook there, but he got his money's worth for that part.
Yeah, no question. So with that fine, I will also point to the Patreon Discord, where again, like we're almost every day now, somebody is posting something in there that is making me at least chuckle. And like, you can't make this shit up, man. Our buddy, the stat man, Tim Thompson, posted this in there. This is from the PRO official Blue Sky account. Apparently, they have new uniforms this season, so good for them. Look at the two poster boys.
Love to see it.
We can't get away from Rosenda Mendoza and John Freeman here.
Just not triggering at all.
Yeah.
Seeing this.
You can't make this shit up, man.
Oh my God. I wonder if he reposted it or if he's banned from his own Instagram. Should be.
Yeah, right. Put that on your story.
Should be, dude.
So if you want to, maybe make us laugh here on the show, you can join the Patreon, get into that Discord. QR code to join the Patreon on the screen right now, or in the description of this episode here on YouTube, or in the audio version. So now let's officially move on. Charlotte in the past, Rosenda Mendoza, I'm sure in our future somewhere down the road this season, but we don't have to worry about him this weekend. RSL away is on the menu. So you are on the preview here at the northendpodcast.com. I will start, though, just with a few notes about the history of the team, right? Because this is like what we like to do the first time we see these clubs each season. But if you are a, season over season listener of the North End, we went into some very in-depth, club history profiles last season. So just the high notes here for Real Salt Lake. They began MLS play as an expansion side back in the 2005 season, which always kind of surprises me as somebody who didn't get into the league until, Austin FC arrived. Like Real Salt Lake never stuck out to me. I didn't even know they existed, I don't think, until Austin got the expansion team. So I was surprised that a Salt Lake MLS team has lasted more than 2 decades here. And maybe partially because it didn't take them long to find some success in the league. They did win the MLS Cup in 2009, Supporter Shield runners-up in 2010 and 2013, also CCL runners-up in 2011. So the first 7-8 years of this club, very successful. And while they haven't had many trophies in a while, or I should say any trophies in a while, the floor is consistently high. With this team, they've made the playoffs or wild card last year, but postseason soccer in 5 straight seasons and 8 of the last 10. So again, this is a team that, again, you haven't seen, under the confetti, so to speak, over the last few seasons, but has a pretty storied history. Again, especially just for me, maybe anecdotally, a club that I don't really associate with a ton of MLS success. So what do you got here on Real Salt Lake?
Well, it seems a little bit like a soccer town from what they're churning out talent-wise down there right now, which we'll get into a little bit later. But this has been a fun matchup between these two clubs. And if you're an Austin FC fan, this is a pretty memorable opponent. RSL, obviously, Austin's first ever playoff victory. Currently sitting at 3 wins, 3 draws, and 5 losses versus RSL, with the last victory taking place in 2023. So it's been a bit of a drought here versus RSL. And I think fans will remember the last matchup between these two teams where Austin really punted the game, to some fans' frustration. But 4 days after that, we had the U.S. Open Cup Championship. So I totally understand why we were heavily rotated in that situation. But with that, that does mean that RSL has captured 11 of the 15 available points from the last 5 games. They've been undefeated versus Austin. So that's been a bit of a challenge here. And obviously we know playing out there in that elevation is challenging for any team. Right now, the story of this season for RSL, they might be the most injured, kind of beat up team outside of us.
Us? Yeah, I was
this
gonna
matchup
say.
taking place here kind of feels like two skeleton crews just like
Yeah.
going at one another. We'll get into the lineup and everything, but the main story right out of Utah right now is the youth movement and some masterclass work out of the RSL boy factory over there. They got 3 players putting in a lot of high quality minutes in Aiden Hezarkani, Xavier Gozo, and Lucas Moisa. All teenagers, Gozo and Hezarkani 18, Moisa 17. And I mean, at this point, Gozo's probably been their most threatening, kind of dangerous quality player with Diego Luna out. And we'll get into the injuries that they're suffering right now. They're without Diego Luna, no Ariaf Piol. Who are some other names I'm missing right now?
Well, I mean, you mentioned Luna. You mentioned
Anelli.
Peel. I mean, Peel. Yeah, Emeka Anelli, but Peel was the one who did his Achilles a couple weeks ago. So like that is one of the more recent injuries for this team. I'm trying to think of who else is missing because
Olatunji's out.
Exactly. Olatunji, and that's a guy who came in summer window last year and hurt us in that 3-1 loss. And I guess as we talk about some of these names, because I think what's tripping me up is like looking at some of the names that departed, right? Especially like if you're not a new Austin FC fan or new here in the North End, then you'll remember names like Ruan Cruz from that late season match was the striker on loan from Botafogo. He went back to Botafogo, so that opened a DP slot. And then Diogo Gonçalves, right, the midfielder who was really in and out of the lineup due to injury and other things. I seem to recall that there was maybe some discipline stuff there going on as well. Gonçalves now out, so they opened up 2 DP slots this offseason. But now a 2-4 build, and like part of the reason why you see 4.4 million in GAM available here for RSL. And technically right now it's a 2-5 build because Nelson Palacio, one of those 5 U22s, is on loan. But also, right, our boy Willie Agata, he was not retained in free agency, and I think he is also now in a league abroad. Johnny Russell was not renewed after that weird little kind of short stint that he had there, getting picked up in the middle of the season and then playing out the string with RSL. And maybe their biggest loss in the midfield, maybe their biggest loss overall, if you ask some of the RSL diehards, was Brian Ojeda, midfielder, right, who's now with Orlando City. And of course, Brian Ojeda, one of 3 Brians on their team last season. And they all had different spellings, right? Brian Ojeda, I believe, is Braian.
Wow.
So yeah, they have broken up the trio of Brians here. But I'm sorry, I started going off here on all my player personnel notes. But those are also some guys that you may have been familiar with as an Austin fan when it comes to this RSL team that are no longer in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I think they're without DeAndre Yedlin as well. So they've been putting together lineups that, I mean, we were looking at some of their stuff on FOTMob and just doing the Snoop Dogg kind of who? Who? Yeah. So like if you want to see how beat up this team is, I encourage you to go look at who they rolled out there versus Atlanta last week in that 3-2 victory over the Five Stripes, because it has been interesting to see who they've had to run out with all the injuries that they've had. Obviously, this roster profile sheet, if you're watching here on the YouTube, looks a little crazy with all those U22 initiative players. Obviously, you have Justin Glad, a veteran here, defensive player on a DP spot. I don't know if that's the most efficient use of that.
He's sorry to interrupt, but if you notice, right, if you're getting this into the weeds with a roster sheet, if you look over there on what the MLS puts out, they have these little, I don't know what you call them, but the little kind of, it's not an asterisk, but they have a little mark over there by Guy Lavogi's name, the new DP. Yeah. Justin Glad's does not have that little asterisk, which means that he can be bought down with TAM. So they would have to get off one of those U22 guys. but they do, like, say you sell Diego Luna after the World Cup, right? Then you're down to 3 U22s that are on the active roster. They could buy down Justin Glad, you would think, with Tam,
Yeah.
and bring in 2 DPs in the summer. So, like, there's a lot of roster flexibility here in Salt Lake.
That's a great little note there. Let's talk about Guy Lavogie a little bit.
Yeah.
From the short stuff that I've seen from this dude, he's a player, man. I was watching the highlights from the Atlanta game last week between these two teams, and he's just a guy who kept popping up, kept just popping off the screen, watching him on the ball, the way that he was moving, a lot of pace to his game as well, and he's dangerous with that right foot outside of the 18, as Atlanta learned last week for sure. With this club right now, you're sitting on 6 points, right? You dropped the first game to Vancouver, who is arguably, if not the best team in the league right now. They're on a short list, I would say.
Yeah.
You get a victory over Seattle, who we were chatting beforehand, was rotated as well. But, like, you can't hold that against RSL when they're without nearly half of the starting lineup. You would assume would be the choice 11 for the field players with Yedlin, Luna, Olatunji as well. So, like, they're really beat up right now. They were able to beat Seattle, and then last week they put 3 on Atlanta in the first half, and they're off to the races. And then Atlanta's trying to play catch up versus them. And they've just found ways to keep this thing moving here. Pablo Mastrioni has been a good coach in this league, someone who I've liked personally, the way that he approaches the game for a while. And he's got this team firing right now. They play a really free kind of offensive style. They stretch the field. Xavier Gozo, you're going to see flying up the right side of the field, getting involved in the attack all the time. He's incredibly active. He possesses a lot of speed. And these young guys right now, they really just don't have that much fear at all. Like, nothing is really seems too daunting to them as they've kept this thing rolling. Now, obviously, we've said on every single preview thus far, small sample size to work with, but you're going to have to, take these kids on face value for what they're doing right now and put them to the test and see if they're actually going to be able to withstand, the grueling grind of an MLS season here. But this team looks good right now, man. And, I think both of us were a little worried about this matchup, given the circumstances with our team playing in the elevation as well. One super bright spot for RSL this year has been Rafa Cabral. The veteran keeper has been one of the best in the league up until this point, and pulling it from ASA, yes. For this shot-stopping metric, he leads the league right now in G-XG. So he's been really, really good at keeping balls out of the net, and this team is just finding ways to get the job done.
Yeah, man, and I think, like, we've already said how bad Atlanta has looked so far this season, but, like, I'm not going to knock Salt Lake for going very shorthanded on the road to Atlanta's home opener. And like you said, netting 3 goals in the first 40 minutes and then being able to hold on to it. Like, I might put more stock into, like, oh, well, they just, they played a really shitty team in Atlanta. I might put more stock into that take if they didn't, like you said, beat Seattle at home the week before and hang with Vancouver on the road. Again, those first 2 matches, just as shorthanded. Like, none of I think maybe Yedlin is the one that picked up, in addition to Pio, an injury over the first 2 games. But, like, it's also a new addition. Juan Jose Arias, right, is a very highly regarded 22-year-old Colombian center back who's on loan from Atletico Nacional. He hasn't played yet either. So, like, that's another guy when we were kind of, stumbling over our words to remember who all's injured, because it keeps going. Like, Kobe Henry also out with a hamstring injury for this team, who doesn't quite measure up name value wise to some of those other guys we've listed. But, I think 2 other additions that I don't think we've talked about yet have been huge boosts as, like, veteran players, not necessarily of this league, but just age wise compared to the rest of the guys that they've been putting out there in these starting lineups. Lucas Engel comes to mind first, Danish fullback. Like, you may remember his name from being on loan with Cincinnati last year, now comes over full-time from Middlesbrough to MLS and joins Salt Lake. And then Stein Spearlings, 29-year-old defensive midfielder. He was kind of brought in, from what I can tell, as that Brian Ojeda replacement. he's been very solid so far. Like, I know you watched the highlights of the game last week against Atlanta. I watched about 60 minutes of that because we did foolishly put some jelly beans on Atlanta to win their home opener against young RSL there. Spearings, I think, has been very, very stout in that defensive midfield so far. He came over from Brøndby in the Netherlands. But dude, I want to circle back on Guy Lavogi because again, like 6'2", can play all across the front line. Striker, both wings, can't even drop in as like either, kind of a second forward or more of that central attacking midfielder. And he hasn't played a ton, right?
Yeah.
Like came on late against Seattle, looked great, got the start. Yeah. Like he's played about I think it's like 110, 115 minutes on the season. He leads the team in XG.
Yeah.
So like that is, I think, Gozo and Guy Lavogi are the two guys you really need to worry about when RSL has the ball. And like, it looks like they're going to maybe not bunker so much, but they really do want to hit you on the counter with all the young legs that they have out there.
Yep. I mean, this is a team, I think, second to last in the league in possession right now, tied maybe with another club, lead the league in clearances. So they remain pretty stout and compact on the defensive side of the ball, asking you to beat them. And then they rely on Rafa Cabral to do a lot of solid shot saving in the net there. And like, you kind of compare it to, I feel like Austin's defensive approach last year, where it wasn't a whole lot of chances, to get interceptions and be highly aggressive on the defensive side of the ball, more so rely on high quality goalkeeping and make an offense break you down. But then when they do, they're off to the races. The first goal versus Atlanta in this matchup starts in RSL's own 18, and within 12 seconds, Atlanta's picking the ball up out of the back of their own net. So that's how they're going to approach this game, I think, as well. They're using these players in Guy Lavogi and Gozo, and Sanabria has been quality thus far this season as well, to get really wide and stretch defenses. And then these guys have talent with the ball at their feet. Hezzer Khani's looked really good. And then Sergej Solans gets his first start last week, gets on the board.
Super draft pick, I believe.
Yep. So like he gets on the board immediately. So they're just getting a lot of production out of some young players. And like the balance between you talked about with some of these veteran presences has worked out well for them, man.
I'm glad you brought up Sanabria. Juan Manuel Sanabria is 25-year-old, can play defensive mid, but also left back. And like you mentioned, like kind of left wing back here, opposite Gozo, in that role on the left. And I did want to point out that if we have Facu Torres on the right this week, which maybe that happens with the way Austin, you would think Austin may need to shuffle the way that they set up in this one. Sanabria, Uruguayan national, teammate of Facu Torres on that Uruguayan national team. So he came over, I believe, from Atlético San Luis in Liga MX. But Uruguay matchup over there on that side of the field, potentially, if these starting lineups work out how we think.
Yeah, man. I'm worried about this team, man. They got no fear right now. They're playing very free with a lot of confidence. They're going to be at home, coming off this win versus Atlanta on the road. I'm worried about this with what we have lined up on our side. And if you're ready to jump over there, I'm ready as well.
Yeah, let's talk about Austin here. And I think like maybe not just like the current situation, which obviously we'll get into here in depth, but it's like the history of us watching these games when our boys go up to Salt Lake in the elevation in Sandy, Utah there. Like you think about the elevation at playing against the Rapids, right? Denver at Mile High. Like the mountains are off to the west in that part of the state of Colorado. Salt Lake, man, is literally in the mountains. Like, this is, I think it's even higher, when you go play like the Utah Jazz instead of the Denver Nuggets. The air is even thinner when you go play RSL compared to the Rapids. And we felt it on the scoreboard the last two times, man. Like I know 3-1 last year, we get the Sabovic kind of shit goal at the end to salvage the score line. But we also like halfway punted / tanked that game because of the Open Cup final. But the year before that, dude, was the 5-1, the Chicho midfield goal, the taking the Obrian goal off because of the phantom handball, and then they get an extra goal. Like, it's just been bad memories up there really since 2022, which was our only result, I believe, on the road. We may have had like a 1-1 or a 2-2 in there, but certainly the only victory we've had up there in Sandy, Utah. And that was the game after the Violette loss in leg 1 of CCC that year. So like, you better win that fucking game. I don't care who you're playing. So it just hasn't been much fun for us. And like, that applies to other teams that are a bit like Seattle, I think has lost like 4 of their last 5 or something up there. Like, I know they've lost their last 2 because I very much remember putting some jelly beans on Seattle last year to beat shitty RSL at home, and they got blanked 2-0. So like, it is a tough place to play no matter who you are.
Yeah, man, it's a real thing. It is a real factor.
So let's talk about the personnel issues that we think our favorite team is going to have here, right? I was looking around in the Tuesday content that the team posted to their socials, right? It was little 4 or 5 second clips from training, about 30 seconds in total. Could not see Jaden Nelson. And like, it's Tuesday, right, of a game week. Came off for hamstring tightness early on Saturday. Who knows how much of that was because, like, right, I'm pretty sure he jogged off under his own power. Yeah. So, like, who knows how much of that was like, yeah, he was experiencing some tightness, but the red card gave us the chance to just go ahead and pull him off and preserve him. Tuesday practice, we shouldn't read too much into that, but I'm just at least going to note it here that that's something I'm looking for over the next 72 hours, not just from coach's press conference where hopefully he says, yeah, Jaden's good to go. But like, if we don't see him in any practice footage between now and the trip out there to Utah, then I'm going to be extremely worried because no Guilherme Biro, the red card was not rescinded, so he is suspended. No Danny, right? Danny posts the, back soon, thanks for the well wishes Instagram story, but like you said to me, that doesn't mean shit, man. Yeah. Like it's probably 4 weeks on the best end and like 8 weeks on the worst end is what, like, we'll get some sort of update from coach. But also, like, what are we going to trust the injury timelines for this team right now? Like, really? I'm not.
Yeah, for sure. I am strapped in for the news that we're going to be without Pep for a while here.
Yeah, I think 6 to 8.
I would not be surprised, man. So you talk about those 3 guys. Again,
still no Owen.
That keeps getting worse.
Does Bobby T make it back this weekend? Does Mikel get his name back?
I'm putting more stock in Bobby T being available than I am with Dedler.
Really?
Why wouldn't I? I just like what evidence has there been? This has been since January, dude. Where is this dude? Why is he not ready to play? Man, I don't get it. Like, you're not getting a start out of either of them. Yeah. That's for sure. So now you're dealing with some depletion at the back line there with the Guilherme suspension. So I just don't. Again, I have to see Dessler. I have to physically see him out there and see what it looks like, and then I reserve the right to change my opinion on where he's at. But like, right now my money would be on Bobby T before Dessler.
So what I want to know or talk through here is what kind of call-ups, if any, do we get from that second team, right? You've got first team guys in Torres and Riley Thomas and Micah Burton. And Irvin was with the first team this past weekend in Charlotte. So I think he is going to be there regardless. But you lose Danny, you lose Biro, potentially Jaden Nelson. So if Mikel Dedler comes back into the team, right, then that fills one of those slots. If Robert Taylor comes back into the team, that fills one of those slots. And if Jaden Nelson is good to go, then you probably don't need any call-ups. But if one of those guys remains out, like, you could pull up Riley Thomas, but I also don't know, like, can he play somewhere else, especially at the first team level other than right back? Like, if Dessler's back in, I don't know if Riley Thomas, like, feels just, like, redundant and, like, probably more important for Riley to go play 90 on Sunday at home against North Texas. Mm-hmm. To me, dude, like, let's say no Nelson, just to, like, we have to have a call-up. I would bypass Micah Burton, who did not start for the second team this past weekend. We got that international slot now, dude. Jorge call-up if we need it.
I mean, there's literally no evidence to suggest why it would be Micah over Jorge outside of
you're still trying to call up.
You're still trying to develop you're still trying to push that where he's younger, he's going to keep progressing and everything. Because I don't think he's ready to get minutes in this matchup. You know, I would trust Jorge to get minutes in this matchup. And yes, if we were in the most dire situation where it's no Nelson, no Bobby, no Dessler, no Guillermo, and then on top of, you know, no BV, no Owen and everything, then yeah, I could see Jorge getting some minutes here. And I'd be excited about that for sure. As we talked about, you know, obviously this RSL team off to a solid start this season, but still playing with a makeshift kind of lineup where it's like, this isn't LAFC, this isn't Miami that you're rolling yourself into here. And I wouldn't mind seeing Jorge get in there. And I know that, you know, you had some lineups that you kind of cooked up a little bit here. And just the way that this team plays, right? Like we talked about the speed, the youth of this club right now. If your midfield pairing is like Duber and Ilya, there's not a whole lot of chance creation coming from either of those dudes. There's not a whole,
dude, ball progression. How do you get to a point where we can create a chance?
Yeah, good point. And then on top of that, neither of them possess above average levels of speed in that midfield. I know it's not the most important thing for a defensive mid to be, you know, all over the place here, but you're going to have to you're going to have dudes recovering. You have to be kind of in your shell drill where you're backtracking to catch this team while they're on the counter and get back and get some bodies back behind the ball, man. So I am definitely very, very interested to see this injury report, and it is going to be massive in regard to how I think Austin's going to have to A, run their starting lineup, and B, approach this game. And like we talked about with the last matchup versus Charlotte there, that I thought Austin was going to come out aggressive and kind of play a free game and be like, Charlotte, we're here with you. We're ready to play. Like, we think we're the better team. We're going to get the 3 points here. That was taken away from them. In this scenario, in the elevation, dealing with these injuries, I think you could see a team that's looked more like the conservative teams of yesteryear with Nico than we have from the start of this season thus far, which has been so, like, I was thinking about it the other night. What a weird start it has been for this team, man. You have the one moment versus Minnesota, you drop those points. Right. Then you have the moment with Ramirez that you talked about, you know, scoring that goal late, you secure the 3 points. And then you have this matchup for Charlotte where the game's over 23 minutes into the game because you're down 10 men. And like, you're down a man, you're down to 10 men. And like, still trying to figure out the picture, you know, the puzzle of what this team is going to look like in 2026. And we knew we weren't going to have very clear kind of answers to that question because we weren't going to be at full strength for a while for what we thought was just trying to get BV back, because we thought Owen was going to be into the fold already now, and we'd be feeling really good about it. So it's been a weird start to the season for Austin, and I don't know what type of adjustment you're going to make here, but I think you're going to see a more conservative approach and try to make RSL uncomfortable by making them play with the ball.
Well, I've got two guesses here in terms of some lineup graphics. I've got one that is what I want to see and one that I think we're going to see. So we'll start with the former here. And this is assuming Jaden Nelson is good to go and start, you know, go at least 65, 70 minutes here with that hamstring. For me, man, 5-back, Bell back in there at the left center back. I know he didn't cover himself in glory in his, you know, relief appearance, but also we're down a man.
Yeah.
So like it's very small sample size. And like we didn't get to see one of the things that I think, at least through the, again, small sample of preseason action that we got to see both in person and on the stream. I'm excited for John Bell's, his ball progression as a left-sided center back there. And so for the audio listeners here, we've got the really like 5-2-3 is what I would call this. So 3 center backs, Bell, Heinzex, Fatok from left to right. And then our wing backs, I have Joseph Rosales on the left, John Gallagher on the right. Like, I would love to see Joseph Rosales in this 5-back where like we can take advantage of his defensive qualities on that left side that we saw on display last week. I'm not saying that was the perfect game, but like some of those individual plays on both sides of the ball, once Joe got over there on the left, dude, was really impressive and like eye-opening to like why he was so highly coveted playing on the left. So like in the what I want to see, I've got him over there at left wing back. Then our two midfielders are Ilya Sanchez and Irvin Torres. Man, like if we can't feel comfortable enough putting Irvin Torres in the middle of all these MLS veterans, or like guys coming, Mirtu Izuni, Facu Torres, right? These guys who are very established players.
Yeah.
Especially when we're going up against a team that's starting like 4 or 5 Irvin Torreses. And I know Xavier Gozo is like a different level than your average young guy. But like, I just feel like that's going to be better for us offensively than what, like we talked, like Duber and Ilie next to each other. I just find that feels too defensive to me.
Yeah.
In a game where like, I don't think we should be conceding control of the game like that, how I envision that would play out.
Okay.
And it should be Besard Savovich, but what has he done to warrant this spot? So like, I would love to see number 38 out there and getting a chance. I think that is the most far-fetched thing about this. What I want to see in a lineup is Irvin Torres getting a start, because it's not what Austin does. And then I would have Facu Torres. So you got the double Torres lineup. Facu out there right wing, Jaden on the left, Mirtu up top. And obviously you could have both Jaden and Facu cutting inside, especially Facu, and sending Gallagher or Rosales, those wing backs, out wide, to have Nelson and Facu pinch in and kind of help that ball progression along with Ilie and whoever starts next to him in this type of look. What are your thoughts, if any, on what I've concocted here?
I mean, I like it, Rosales moving back to that left back position, man. Someone's going to have to deal with Gozo, and I feel best about it being Joe back there.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think the Irvin start is probably a little bit far-fetched, but I understand where you're coming from, because are we starting Besard Savovich and feeling potentially, it's like there's a gap between how much better you're feeling about that between him and Torres? Yeah. I don't think so. And if it's like, if there is one, it's relatively small.
Yeah.
Honestly, I personally, even though I just talked about, being most comfortable with Rosales picking up Gozo on that right wing, is you take Komanich, you throw him in there for Rosales, you move Rosales back up to the right wing, you slide Facu in a little more
into the Irvin spot.
And then you rock with that and have Ilie behind him, let Facu get into that chance creating action, try to get something going there. I think that gets the most talent onto the field, but I don't know if it's necessarily the lineup that I like, the lineup that I really like, because I love the idea of having Rosales be on that Xavier Gozo side and trying to take him away. Johnny's going to have his hands full with Guy Lavogi. That's going to be an issue. And then from what we've seen from Svatok earlier in this year, right, one of the knocks that we had on the dude, right, obviously he's, about as mobile as a scarecrow, but like the balls that we saw from him last week, man, and the progressive passes that he's been making, he's taken a big step in that regard, because usually we saw Svati like, it's just quick to the right, or I'm going back to Stuver and I'm just going to get this to somebody else to move it up the field. But it seems like he's taken that on and it looks way better. And we've already been pretty intrigued with John Bell's ability to make line breaking passes and loft some balls over the top there. So I like this idea for sure. I just, what are you going to do if Nelson's not ready? And what do you do here if there's no Nelson and no Bobby T?
I don't know, dude.
I
really don't know. I mean, then you for sure have Rosales up there on one of the wings, but like maybe he's on the left wing then, and you have Komanich behind him, and have a similar setup to here. But like what you were describing there, I think comes very close to what I have in the lineup that I think we're going to see, which is just slotting guys into the formation that we've seen over the first 3 matches. So back line of Komanich, Heinzike, Svatok, Gallagher. Then the defensive midfield pairing of Ilie and Duber, with Facu Torres in front of them, Nelson on the left, Joseph Rosales on the right, with Mirtu up top. I think this is what we are going to see.
Yeah, I think this is much more reasonable and much more to Nico's more conventional kind of approach to these things and sticking to his principles, which I'm fine with.
But and I don't hate this either. I think I would just have, as a fan, more fun with the first one, or be more excited to see how it looks. And like ultimately, what I think will be more exciting to me as a fan doesn't line up with how are we going to win this game. in a place that's so hard to take points off of, even to get a result there. So, I think this is what we're going to see, but that Thursday media availability with whatever information that coach can give us, again, like taking that with the biggest grain of salt possible, given how the injuries have progressed over the last 6 weeks, or not progressed rather. And then that injury report coming out on Friday, man, is going to tell us a lot. Cause like if you have Dedler, questionable again, then like that feels like out again, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I have to see it, man. I really do. And like, look, you still have enough to get the fucking job done here. You got 2 DPs that are ready to go. This is when your big players have to step up in key moments. And this is one of those games where, because we talked about what's coming after this, and you're really up against the shit if you're not in this game competing, trying to get a point here, at least a point here. So guys like Azuni and Facu are going to need to step up here.
I mean, dude, speaking of the next 2 games after this one, like you are playing the 2 scariest teams in the league. Like maybe they're not the best. They probably are, but like LAFC and then Miami, with the way our injury report looks, like I cannot pull the lever for this game. Just give it, like, it's not a must win, because if they don't win, I'm not really that surprised here, given the state of the roster and the injury report. But if you can find 4 points over the next 3 games, again, further context provided when these games play out, but like I feel like we got to be really happy with that. 6 games in, if we can be on 8 points, given the way things have gone so far, like I would take that where we're sitting right now, dude.
I think it's 3, man. Like I'm pulling the lever for this game. I am. You have to win. You have to win this game. You have enough to get this done. They're just as beat up as us. So like, is it just coming down to, oh, hey, it's really tough to play here? Well, fuck it, man. You got to find a way to get this done, because Miami's a guaranteed loss. Okay. Like, let's just get that out of the way. We are losing that game at Miami's home opener for their brand new fucking stadium. Okay. It's like that.
Dude, last night we're finalizing like where we're staying, all this stuff. You're like, all right, excited until the game starts.
Yeah, no, that's a loss in my book. And trying to beat LAFC, we understand how difficult that is, man. So you got to win this game. You got enough to get the job done. I'm looking to guys like Mirtu and Facu Torres, man.
Yeah.
You got to lead your team here. You're playing a team that's going to potentially start 3 fucking teenagers, man. You got enough to get the job done. Bradley Scott Stuver on top of his P's and Q's. You got to win this game. You got to get 3 points here.
All right, Mr. Liverpool, how much is Austin FC winning by on Saturday night?
Give me the 1-0 classic, man. You got to find a way to get this done. And, the guys I talked about, step up.
Yeah. I got a 1-1, but as has been the case throughout the early parts of this season, I like your prediction better. So a 1-0 win for E, a 1-1 draw for me. Don't care how you get it done, boys. We would love to see you bring us back the 3 points.
Come on down to Palmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's last business day.
Last business day here on episode 290 of the North End podcast, and E, Ventura County was the opponent at Palmer Field on Sunday night. And taking a look at the lineup, first thing that stuck out, Charlie Ferre gets back in net, coming off that calf injury, as was reported by our friend Hernan at We Are Austin TV. No Irvin Torres, of course, who was with the first team in Charlotte last weekend. And then no Adrian Gonzalez. So, like, I'm not sure what this means rule-wise, because I did check the schedule. We play Loons 2 more times. So I'm not sure if Next Pro changed the rules surrounding the red card suspensions, where now it's just your typical, you miss the next match, or if we're bringing the, internal suspension down from the first team level. I think it is much more likely that Next Pro snuck a rule change in under my nose, but either way, no Adrian Gonzalez after his red card in this one. So Coach Shackle slid Jorge Alistue back into the midfield here. Micah Burton and Mo Badawia came off the bench, so we changed the entire front line. Dobrihevich out there on the left, Diego Abarca getting his first start of the season out there on the right. Same thing with Ibrahim Asal up top. So you had the same 4 guys on the back line, but a lot of changes throughout the rest of the lineup.
And you know what this signals to me, man? This signals to me a new coach trying to learn his players a bit better, trying to give some dudes opportunities and see who's going to go ahead and seize the opportunity to make the most of it. You know, Saul was a dude that I was very interested in, still am, goes ahead and gets a goal in this matchup here. So I still think there's going to be some tinkering yet to come with this team. And the coaching staff has got to find a way to get it right here.
Yeah, Marcel Ruzel was also rounding out that lineup there in the midfield, right? Because no Irvin, no Adrian Gonzalez. So just touching on kind of the highs and lows of this match, it was Jules Berry picking up the first caution of the match. Challenge, kind of a bouncing ball at the top of the Ventura County penalty area. I had no qualms with this yellow card being given out. But then it was just 1 minute later in the 18th where Ventura is trying to play out of the back. And it's Jacobaro stepping up, dislodging the ball from a Ventura County player. And that loose ball just comes right to Ibrahim Asal, who collects it at the top of the 18, takes one touch to put it on his left foot and bangs it home past the keeper for the first Austin FC2 lead of the season. And you love to see that with the new guy, less than 20 minutes in here in his first start, getting on the score sheet.
Absolutely. Being opportunistic, keeping your composure, finding a way to get the ball into the back of the net. Love to see it.
Very similar cadence in the 38th where yellow card to Patrick Kayeli for pulling the jersey of a Ventura player on that near sideline to the broadcast camera. And then 5 minutes later, Austin wins a free kick left side of the 18-yard box down there in the Ventura County final third. Kayeli lines up over it there on the left, lumps a high cross towards the back post. Jules Berry is able to go up and get it, nodding it towards the goal. A defender there for Ventura did block that shot, but the rebound kind of trickles right to Riley Thomas, who bangs it on target past the keeper, 2-0 lead, and Riley's first goal in an Austin FC uniform.
That's awesome for him, man. Super excited that he opened up the bank account here.
Well, we're feeling great now. You get that second one, the insurance goal before half, and we are, midway through the second half. Really, the only thing that happened, unfortunately, 56th minute, it's Vlad Danchutu coming on for Ibrahim Asal. Saul took a seat after a whistle near midfield, and the trainers come on to examine him. The sub was made. I didn't really see him kind of hobbling around before that. Maybe I missed something while I was watching it live, but I thought this was just kind of it's almost 60 minutes here for Saul. His first appearance of that nature here with the second team. It's probably just a conditioning thing there. And I'm fine with that because I'm fine with 30 minutes of fresh Vlad Danchutu coming on to close this match out. So we'll keep our eyes on Ibrahim Asal's status this coming weekend. 71st minute, double change for Austin. Micah Burton, Daniel Chesla coming in for Dobrihevich and Riley Thomas. And just moments after those subs, Ventura wins a free kick above the top of the Austin 18, probably 25, 26 yards out here. Not an easy attempt that Dylan Vanny, right? It's one of two Greg Vanny children, I believe, on this roster. So Dylan just rips this one left corner of the net, and it's 2-1. And dude, just minutes after that, 76th minute, Ventura gets possession again here near midfield. They go right up the gut, then a 1-2 give and go out to the right, pinged right back into the box where El Gersma equalizes. This is maybe the widest give and go I've ever seen work on a soccer field. And I'm not going to sit here and point fingers at any individuals. Poor defense by Austin FC2 here. And to relinquish the second one after you get scored on, obviously that's something that they're looking to clean up here. We're level. The final change for Austin comes after the goal. It was Kenny Hott coming in, making his debut here in Austin for Diego Abarca, and Mo Badawia coming in for Marcel Ruzel. Actually have that swapped, right? Because Mo's going up to the right wing, Kenny playing in that midfield there. But no further goals in this one, man. And we go to the shootout. Jorge's first shot gets saved, which was an ominous start. Patrick Kayeli also denied, and then it was Charlie Farah pushing the second Ventura shot out. So it gave us life for a moment. Micah scores his. Mo Badawia has a hand put on his by the Ventura keeper, but powers it past that hand and into the net anyways. And the Ventura puts their 4th attempt off the bar. So it's 2-2. And then in that 5th round, Jules Berry puts his attempt off the crossbar, and Dylan Vanney, wouldn't you know it, converts his as Charlie gets a paw to it, but it slips through. And we drop the additional point, man. So now just 1 point from the 2 home matches that you've had here to start the season. You're at home again next week this week against North Texas, who we'll talk about in a moment, but really disappointing start here, especially after how the first 70 minutes of this match went, man. Like, we had it under control, and in a matter of minutes, it slipped through our fingers.
Seriously tough start to this season for this team here. It's still a club just looking for their identity right now. So many changes, so much turnover, new coaching staff, figuring things out. It's early for sure, not panicking, but it has been a rough start to this season. And obviously having that 2-goal cushion up until the 72nd minute, man, and then squandering that is always difficult. But, you get another opportunity here versus a rival to bounce back.
Yeah, and especially the second half, the rain started coming down out at Palmer. So, like, just miserable ending for both the team and the fans in attendance. So this week, 3rd straight home match to open the season. Home match, you know what that means, Sunday at 7:30. And it is our first Copita Tejas match of the season, North Texas SC. For the uninitiated, that is FC Dallas's affiliate here in MLS Next Pro. Last season, North Texas finished 6th in the West on 43 points, 46 goals for, and 56 against, right? And they were coming off the 2024 Next Pro title, right? We won 23, they won in 2024. So far this season, North Texas 2-2 road draw to open the season at Real Monarchs. They lost that additional point in penalties, and then they come back home 3-1 home win over Rapids 2, and it was Edward Nice hat trick, number 10, starting up top. Nice, 21-year-old Belgian. He was a 2nd round super draft pick this year and requires an international slot. So I imagine that's why he has ended up on the 2nd team here. I mean, he also might not be good enough for that 1st team supplemental there in Dallas, but I just thought it was notable, right, that when he signed with the 2nd team, they were still pending his visa to suit up here for North Texas. So off to a rip-roaring start there is the 2nd round pick from this past winter, and a slew of 1st team supplemental options, including homegrown left back number 24, Josh Torquato, homegrown center back number 26, Slade Starnes. That's another, all league, all name type of guy there. Slade Starnes wore the armband for this team last week. Another draft pick. This is a Generation Adidas winger, number 16, Nicholas Simmons. And Simmons is the 3rd overall pick from this draft. So, right, 1st team supplemental on that Generation Adidas contract, but starting on the right wing now for North Texas. Also, homegrown midfielder number 27, Caleb Swan. Homegrown midfielder number 50, Diego Garcia. Garcia came off the bench this past week. And then off-roster homegrown midfielder number 20, Jaden Contreras. And Contreras got the start last week, assisting 2 of the 3 goals by Edward Nice. So, like, again, you look at a team like Dallas, we know we have always had a pretty high regard for their academy. I know they haven't been churning out the Pepis or the Jesus Ferreiras like of late, but still a well-established academy there, and I think it shows with who is on the pitch here for North Texas. And, like, speaking of who's on the pitch or maybe on the bench for North Texas, number 31 is goalkeeper Thomas Birchfield, right, who left the Austin FC Academy in the offseason after, like, reportedly some controversy there. But so not getting the start quite yet is Birchfield, but is on their bench through the first 2 games of the season. All-time head-to-head between these 2 clubs, all level. 2 wins for Austin, 4 draws, and 2 losses against North Texas. And, like, we'll have to see who gets called up by the 1st team, if anyone, right? And I think, like, with this 2nd team right now, like, we certainly have the depths for those call-ups to maintain the level here with the 2nd team, right? You look at just, like, guys who are available off the bench. If you compare this to last week's lineup, again, that did not have Adrian Gonzalez, that did not have Irvin Torres in it. Kenny Hott, Aiden Hale, Mo Badawia, Daniel Chesla, Vlad Danchutu, Neo Che, who we haven't seen yet, Landry Moncrief, Micah Burton, right? Like, we've got depth on this roster to fill in for any of those call-ups that may happen. Although, of course, if it is Jorge that goes up with the first team this weekend, a little bit tougher to replace than our average guy at that level. But, we got to do what we got to do here.
Yeah, man. And this has been a fun matchup between these two teams. I prefer the Houston rivalry to this one. It's a bit spicier, a bit more physicality, but still you want to go ahead and take care of business versus your in-state rivals. Like I said before, wrapping up that last matchup, team searching for an identity, got to find your 11, who you trust out there. If Jorge gets called up, man, then you're really searching for some more answers. But I trust the coaching staff and I trust the players to figure this thing out, man. Had a couple bad breaks in that first game that really just got away from you. And then to, have this collapse versus Ventura, very difficult, but got to bounce back.
Yeah, I second all of that. So unless you have anything else to add here, E, how much is Austin FC 2 winning by on Sunday to get in that win column in 2026?
Look, I'm gonna take him getting the extra point here in a PK shootout, but I am potentially forecasting them being without Irvin and or Jorge, and taking that into account. I think you just really lower the ceiling of this team. So I'm gonna go 1-1 with a PK shootout win.
All right, we take the 2 points, but in this case, I like my prediction better. I've got a 2-1 home victory here on Sunday night to cap off a weekend of soccer here for Austin FC. So a 1-1 PK shootout win for E, 2-1 victory for me. Don't care how you get it done, boys. Gotta protect home field here. Gotta get a win.
And if we could have essentially a boy factory.
The boy factory, hard work in the first team quality. Today's academy, can't you see? Tomorrow's Austin FC.
Nobody clip boy factory and use that.
Still not the week where I will not laugh at the boy factory drop. So taking a look at what the Academy boys did this past weekend, kind of a split. I think the young guys were taking on Houston Rangers here this week, and the older guys went out to Atlanta. U13s, 3-2 victory against Houston Rangers. This scoring burst in the second half to secure the victory, man. You get Alex Leyva in the 55th. 1 minute later, Mohamed Silla in the 56th. And then that third goal, Antonio Quiroga in the 65th. So that was a comeback victory for the 13s. And then the 14s. I mean, convincing here by the U14s. 21st minute, it was Alexander Kilpatrick, followed by Braylon Marin scoring in the 32nd, and then Enrique Balboa in the 44th, right before half to get that third goal. And then, just for good measure, Ari Kaplan in the 78th minute for the fourth goal, 4-1 win. So 2 wins from the 13s and 14s, respectively. And then you look at the older age groups here, U15s, 3-0 loss at Atlanta United. Challenging away match here, right? Like we saw how you struggle in the elevation against RSL last week. Now this week they're going across the country to Atlanta. U16s, I play this one very, very tough and get rewarded for their hard work late on. Luke Garcia scores the lone goal in this match for the U16s. 80th minute winner. So again, you see that firm defense to keep the clean sheet on the road against, you talk about other, high profile academies. Atlanta, I think
for sure
certainly qualifies in the top half of MLS. U18s, 3-2 loss here. So a very competitive match for the oldest age group in the academy. David Romero in the 60th, Christian Ayala in the 82nd. Both those guys scored. Again, hard-fought match there, but a 3-2 loss for the U18. So 3 wins, 2 losses. We've certainly had worse weekends, fellas. So keep it up, man. You just got to keep working hard.
Keep working hard, keep progressing, keep growing. That's what we like to see. Turn you out of the boy factory one of these days.
Yeah. So, we close out our midweek episode with the nonsense. Oh, my God, dude.
Insane.
The fucking picks. Like, it's just the goal scorers.
That
are
insane.
Crushing us now. So, like, you go through last week, the pick'em entry does not hit, and it was early on, crushed us because Martin Ojeda in the entry we gave out. No shots because of the early Maxime Crépeau red card, just picking up the ball outside of the box, with some oncoming attackers in the vicinity. So that kind of screwed us. But we did put right in the article, because 2 of those 3 picks in the entry we gave out were from the early matches. Those secondary picks did very well. So I know some of the other entries that we put in as the night went on actually brought us back to a little bit profitable personally. But you lose the unit in the article from the official pick. Then look, dude, like these money lines, these little parlays we've been doing at the books have also been going well. Like plus 4.32 now on the on the young season with the pick'em parlays. With these picks at the books, plus 4.63 units. Okay. Minus 34 units on the goal scorers because we are 0 for 34. And again, this is what helped us to the soaring heights that we did reach last year. And we just find new ways to just get fucked by these goal scoring picks in the 2026 season, dude. We had 9 goal scoring picks. So shorten that up a little bit. Timo Werner doesn't start, so we're down to 8 goal picks. 4 of the 8 were affected by red cards, either their team getting them or the player themselves picking up a red card. Thanks, Gabriel Peck. Ojeda doesn't score. Nelson comes off early. Facu Torres does not score for us. So, man, we are hurting right now. So again, look, man, we're not going away from the goal scorers, right?
No.
They were taking a second look here. We're getting a little bit tight now making these picks because we just continue to tumble downwards overall. So maybe, right, if you are tailing these, if you wanted to hold off on the goal scoring picks for now, I don't blame you. But I just wanted to highlight, right, the rest of them have been doing just fine. On pace, just like they were last year. So look, and we'll try to pick things up with the goal scorers here. And again, long climb back to potentially even here this season.
Long climb, but you'd have to expect that these would kind of regress to the mean here. You're starting to hit, it almost feels like if we tried to do this, if you tried to pick 8 people every week, it would be
all-star level guys were
who's not going to score this week. So this has been at one of the craziest, wildest things I've seen in it, but that's why they call it Grambling.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why they call it Grambling.
Yep. So let's close it out with the best ball here, E. So of course we always start with the Verde Big Ball League. And dude, we are Austin on a heater.
Yeah.
3 straight wins to open the season, 209 total points, 75 points on the week. And we bring up the rear last week, dude. 29 points for the North End. And look, dude, we also got screwed with our best ball roster last week because the postponement in New England. We have Carlos Heel and Jack McGlynn in our midfield. Do we also have Martin Ojeda? I think we may.
I'm pretty sure we do.
I don't know if we have Zinkernagel as well, because I think Zinkernagel has 1 fantasy point total on the year.
He's been
as a 3rd-round pick or whatever he was. So, shout out to the defense and the goalkeeping for the squad, because we might have had in the teens last week if it wasn't for a clean sheet there for the crew. Verde Pendant still holding strong in second now, 30 points off the pace behind We Are Austin, but a 54. They're now 30 points above 3rd place. Soccer-wise, David Goss and company, 61 points, so they leapfrog us into 3rd place. We are just 2 points ahead of Phil and Verde All Day in 4th place, so Phil 2 points back of us. And then with a 45, now just 12 points back of 5th, Moon Tower Soccer. So really 3 through 6 all kind of packed in there. And then we've got the Verde Pendant boys in their own tier. And We Are Austin leading the pack. Very impressive start. So through 3 weeks here, this is where we sit. But, we typically make this little mid-season ghost push where we'll be in first for a couple weeks and then we'll fall back down. So I'm ready for the, couple weeks of excitement that typically come later in the year for us.
Absolutely. We Are Austin TV out to a hot start. Good Lord. I don't know if we've had a start that hot ever.
Yeah, man. I mean, we need, obviously the scoring's a little bit different this year, right? With the MLS fantasy game going away, but still, you look around the other leagues, and we can get into the Patreon leagues here, 75 is still an elite score in best ball here. So we start with the Sentimiento leagues here for the best ball pyramid. TJ, man, Birdman Verde, 70 points, 188, still at the top of the Sentimiento League. Mace with a 66. Ari's with a 67. So those three up at the top. Cesar, 58. He's just 1 point back of Ari's there in fourth. And then there is a split to the rest of the Sentimiento League. Kevmo, 151 in fifth. Tex Rex behind him. Brian Hensley in seventh. And Dave Smith bringing up the rear right now through 3 weeks in the Sentimiento League. Heartbeat League. Mike Cragnola with a 61 wins week 3 in the Heartbeat League, but Peach retains that overall lead in the Heartbeat League with a 55. He's on 171 total, followed by Josh Dwyer and Tim Thompson. Then Mike jumps me there into fourth. I'm in fifth with 148, followed by Dave Ruth, Aaron Bertolini, and AC bringing up the rear right now in the Heartbeat League. And then E in what I deemed last week the softest league of the three. No longer as soft. Logan Okwa, 50 points. Derek wins the week on 66 points, so he's just a point back of Logan for first. Then you and our buddy Aggie tied for third, 156. Aggie with the big week on 59 points. E just 41 points there in week 3. Schnorb Jones, 152, so he is far from out of the mix here. TJ Jonesy, 2 points behind him. Then Trevor and Johnny rounding out the standings here in the Rooted League. So overall, Ian, this is the standings that you want to be on. I see you down there holding on. You and Aggie tied for 11th overall, but it is TJ. 13-point lead over the field right now. Mace up into second. Aries and Peach tied for third. Cesar in fifth. You got a tie for sixth between Logan and Josh. Tie for eighth between Derek and Tim. And then Mike Cragnola in 10th. So sitting just below that 8, the line for the Premier League, right? Top 8 get in there. And for those who are not familiar or were maybe wondering, considering all the ties we have on the overall standings here, the tiebreaker is the total points that your team scores, not like the best ball points, right? So E, you had 41 this week, but your actual team scored like, probably 70 something.
Got you.
The total for your team the entire season is the tiebreaker at the end of the year. So you don't have to feel so bad if you have a team that scores 100 points and only 70 count, because it's going towards your tiebreaker at the end of the year. But I don't know, man. You think Tej maybe getting a big head up there, just first week after week?
I mean, top 3 are from all the same league, right?
Look at that. Sentimiento League, Birdman, Mace, Aries, also 1, 2, and 3. Aries tied with Peach, but Aries with the 67, man. You get your name on top with the bigger score in the previous week. So Sentimiento League is the one to be chasing right now.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead, though. The week-long tracker of times you and I have appeared on the top 12, E2, ZG1. We'll take it.
No, that's not an official tracker. You can unsanctioned.
Look I got the data right here. Look at all this data.
Oh, you got Spiral Notebook?
Look at it. It's all months and months of data.
If you're ever wondering why E is always holding a pen or a pencil, he's sitting there writing actual physical notes on a Spiral Notebook.
Oh shit, dude. You know what I was fucking thinking about the other day? Because sometimes I'll catch myself just like messing around with this fucking thing and everything. And I always think of the scene in Sunny where Dennis comes in and they're in the therapy session and he's like, Mac fidgeted with this, didn't he? He's like trying to put it in his mouth and shit, and like fucking, then I'll sketch myself. I'm like, God damn it, Ian! Come on, dude.
Anything else for you, man? Before we shut it down,
hey, we ride Saturday. Let's do this. No moping, no whining. It's over.
Correct. At least till this Sunday, E, which is when we will be back to recap Austin FC's road trip out to Salt Lake City. And of course, talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. We will do the same. See you at the watch party on Saturday and back here for another episode on Sunday. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.